She lives. Running good, nice and smooth. Oh hey, welcome back to another S13 with an SR20 rebuild video. So if you remember from last time, we got this whole SR20 put back together and we stuck a crank in it from an Infinity G20 and replaced all the gaskets, seals, all that good stuff. Got this thing looking fresh, brand new, ready to go back into this thing. But before we can do all that, it just doesn't sit right with me that this thing looks so good going into this crusty, flat, red engine bay. So we're gonna fix that. There we go. Get this thing up on some car stands, get her up off the ground. We're gonna drop the subframe out and get all this stuff out of the way so we can paint these fender wells with some rocker guard. And once that's all painted underneath there, we're gonna move on to the engine bay and hit it with some of this Krylon Industrial acrylic lacquer paint. Pinture lacquer acrylic semi-flat black. When I first get a car kind of stripped down like this, I like to take a metric 6x1 tap, and I like to run around and run this tap through all the metric 6x1 holes all around the top side up here where all the fenders, everything mounts. Once you paint it, it's kind of a pain to run around this tap. It's kind of easiest to do this first, and then when you go put your hardware in, you won't even really need to run this. You'll just have some paint to go through. Little trick for you guys. Metric 6x1 tap. Clean all your threads up, and in the entire life of you owning the car, you'll be thanking yourself, because anytime you have to work on anything with the, you know, everybody knows the 10 mils are all over these S13s. It makes life a lot easier. All right, we chased all those threads, got that out of the way. So now we're gonna pull these wheels off and we'll start looking at dropping this subframe. Should come apart really easily. I'm trying to drop this all down as one big piece. Actually, I'm not so sure I want to do that. Kind of be nice to have the wheels on here, so when I drop all that down, it rolls out together. But while I got the wheel off, I can kind of show you. I've had this car quite a while, and before I started making videos, I kind of ran through this car a little bit. Brand new S13 lowers, you can get those on Rock Auto, and I extended them by 15 mil, and then I cut my own knuckle, just my version of a, you know, fun lock knuckle. You can kind of see the Ackerman a little bit there. This angle kit works really well, actually. It's pretty fun. You know, these are just eBay tension rods, and then I made my own power brace out of some square tubing, and then just some basic ISR coilovers. So let me toss this wheel back on here, and then we'll crawl under there and knock out the subframe bolts and the front tension rod bracket bolts. Yeah. On second thought, maybe I do want to take the wheels off. All right, that was a dumb way to do that. Don't do that like me. But we got it out of there, so now we can really start getting this puppy painted up. So like I was saying, now that we got the whole fender well all exposed, I'll clean all this up, scuff it, and then hit it with some rocker guard. Just makes it look really nice. Makes all your suspension stuff pop. So let's keep rocking. All right, now that all that stuff is out of the way, I've got to pull all these little plastic tabs, get this bracket and stuff off of here, and then lay a good coat of this stuff on here. I'm not gonna get too crazy with like taping it off or anything. Just blast everything that I see here. Just try to make this look a little bit better than it does right now. So. All right, we're looking pretty good here. I did several rounds of scrubbing with Scotch-Brite, just dry and blowing it off with air. And then I did a pass with some glass cleaner, cleaned it up really good. And then I did 2 rounds of spraying it down with wax and grease remover. But I think this is looking pretty good. I taped off all these holes. That's pretty good for one coat. I think that'll make this look pretty nice. Finally, we're getting some color laid on this thing. Wha-pow! We are fully rocker guarded, and it looks Fantastic. Very happy with that. I'm probably just gonna, I don't want to take these things off. As you can see, I'm being a little bit lazy with all this. I'm kind of leaving just all this stuff in here. I'm gonna figure out something with this wiring to kind of hold it up and out of the way as I do the engine bay, just because I don't want to unhook it and drag it all the way out. We're just doing a spray bomb, trying to polish this turd, I guess. Like I said, this looks really good, man. We got a solid 2 coats on each side, and it looks much better. So now we have to prep and get ready to spray all this. Cover all this red up with some black. That clean SR will be beautiful and pop sticking out of this black engine bay. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad. All right, I think that about does it for the sanding on this thing. As I was making my way all across all this, I found a couple little things here. Found this little piece of spot weld. I think that this core support has been replaced. As you can see, it's got black and stuff on it, like it's been painted a little bit, and there's a couple other areas I'll show you where it looks like it's been repaired before, but I'm gonna pinch this together, toss a little weld in that little hole, obviously clean it up first. What else was there? These frame rails are a little rusty from a leaky master. I've replaced that. I got all new brakes, clutch, master, everything. And I also did a column bushing there. I'm gonna hit all this with a wire wheel, and I've got this rust reformer. I'm gonna spray over that. Elsewhere where I've seen stuff that was welded, right here on the top and right next to the hood hinge, you can see some boogery welds, a little bit of leftover wire. So this has been sort of repaired. You see where those spot welds were drilled, and they didn't completely fill that hole back in, but I kind of lose it there. I think it goes down this seam. Yeah, must be this kind of, ugh. All right, well, we're gonna pretend like we didn't see any of that. There we go, that's better. I found this little tear in where the brake line goes through the strut tower there. Look at this freaking genius contraption. Keep all these wires up off everything as I paint it. Look at that. All right, I went through a bunch of paper towels and grease and wax remover. We got this whole puppy wiped all the way down. And I went ahead and tossed some of that rust restore stuff on there, on the frame rail, and a couple other little random spots that I thought might need some. So I think it's time to lay down a drop cloth and start taping a few things off and finally spraying this thing, dude. I'm so ready. Looking good here. We got everything all taped off. Drop cloth down. I wrapped all this wiring harness and stuff in saran wrap, taped off what I wanted to tape. I think we're pretty well good to go. We hit this thing with a bunch of cans of this Krylon Industrial semi-flat black. Got the fancy little trigger thing so my finger doesn't get tired. So here we go. All right, there's 2 coats. I think it looks pretty good. I don't see any more red, which is exactly what we're going for. This SR is gonna look really good in this black engine bay, I think. We got our fender arches all rocker guarded and our engine bay all Krylon industrialed. So I'm gonna let this thing sit overnight and we're gonna come back tomorrow and get back to work. Okay, so it's been a few days, but I've been tinkering around here and there, doing the 1 hour a day thing on this thing. And I've gotten quite a bit of this put back together. Painted the power brace deal after pressure washing it, and we tossed a brand new rack in there, and we got the other subframe in. And then I took the SR off of the engine stand with the hoisty here, and just kind of tinkering along, and I just want to prep this thing to start putting the trans back on. And to do that, this crank that we got here came out of an automatic car, so it's got this big bushing thing, and then it's got the little brass insert for the automatic transmission. So we gotta get both those out so we can get the new pilot bushing put in here. And I'm trying the old bread trick where you shove bread down in this little hole and, you know, put you a dealio in there, tap it a few times with the hammer there, and it pushes it out. And it was working really well. I got the brass bushing to start pushing out of there. but this outer steel ring bushing dealio, whatever that is not coming out. So I think I'm gonna try to weld something to this and use my slide hammer to just pop that first piece out and then go back to doing the bread deal to push the rest of that bushing out. Boom! It worked. Boom. Dude, that's so cool. Sweet. Okay, today is the day. We're gonna put this SR back into this S13. And to do that, we first need to put the flywheel, clutch, and attach the transmission all back to it. In my little tote here, we got our little, I don't know what you call this thing, spacer, gasket, whatever. We got that. And we've got a freshly resurfaced flywheel and a brand new OEM exity clutch. Now this clutch is actually from a 1989 Nissan Maxima with a V6. We got a nice new clutch disc, pressure plate. This is the clutch bearing, but we can't use that. That's the only thing that doesn't cross over, so I have a new bearing. And we've got ARP hardware, so let's get this thing tossed on. All right, so these ARP flywheel bolts say to put just a little bit of the assembly lube underneath the head of the bolt, so where it meets the flywheel, and then some red thread locker on the threads there. And just dab a little around each hole here. Just a little dabble, do ya? Oh yeah, just like that. Just a little. I don't like to go crazy with Loctite on flywheel bolts, so boom, one. And number 8. So we're gonna do these all by hand first and get them snug. Okay, now ARP says to tighten this in a star pattern to 70 foot-pounds, or a couple of Ugga-Duggas with a Milwaukee Fuel M18 half-inch impact on the second setting. All right, we got our clutch disc here. Now I've already installed the new pilot bushing and I put a little bit of grease in there. Just gonna hang this clutch here. Very nice. Now our pressure plate, give it a quick wipe down. Don't want any Earl on there. Beautiful. Now we can pop this sucker on. See if we can do this first shot. Nope, we can't. The dowels don't line up. Here I was saying this was a bolt-on affair. Well, crap. The bolt holes line up. Dowels do not. I think I'm gonna pull these dowels out. Easy enough. All right, dowels removed. Let's try and hang this puppy again. No dowels, no problem. Lines up just fine. Now we do want to adjust this so this pops out real easily. All right, feels pretty good, I guess. Let's tighten this. Look at that. Nice and new. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the process. Getting everything prepared to put the engine in the car. I don't know, there's something about a nice new fresh clutch that kind of tells you got some life to beat on this thing for a little bit. So yeah, you know, nothing like a brand new clutch. Let's get this freaking transmission on here. Dang, you know what I didn't do? Forgot to put this freaking thing behind the flywheel. No worries. Good to go. So part of the reason that I chose this super OEM stock clutch is because, as I've said, this is just an OEM rebuild. Something super basic and simple. But beyond that, I could have easily chosen a super grabby, stiff clutch, but I personally like the OEM feel, I like nice soft clutch. And the main reason why is because these stock SR trans are made of glass. And I plan on drifting this car quite a bit, you know, every chance that I can get. And I would much rather tear up a clutch or burn a clutch than I would break this transmission. That's just sort of a philosophy that I've lived by with most of my cars, and it's worked pretty well. I haven't broken any gearboxes with my KA car or this SR one yet. So yeah, that's why. All right, this trans is ready to go here. It got the full treatment, and like everything else, we hit it with some oven cleaner. It looks much better. And we also tossed a new seal in the back, and we have a brand new OEM transmission mount, as well as a brand new throwout bearing, and I cleaned up the fork and greased everything up all good. So this thing is officially ready to go onto this thing. Hot dog, we are attached. Looks pretty nice. Missing a couple bolts that were never there before, I don't think. Let's get this freaking thing in the car. All right, here's our setup here. We got our Harbor Freight engine hoist, and then this is a safety strap for like fall protection if you work out of like a scissor lift or something that I have vice gripped closed to try to reduce the overall height of it. We got our chain run up as high as we can and bolted through. And if you're a one-man band like myself here, this is helpful to run a 1-inch ratchet strap to the tail end of the transmission. We'll see how this goes. Put me a nice big piece of cardboard over top the core support here. We want to protect our freshly painted engine bay. Okay, there it is. It's kind of getting dark out now. I kept plugging away, knocking a few things out. We got engine mounts all tightened down. We got the transmission cross member in. We have this little thing that attaches to the exhaust, which is a pretty important piece. A lot of people don't use that. And then they have manifolds cracking stuff. Also, flex pipe is another good piece. But we've got the exhaust all hooked up. I got the drive shaft all in, the carrier bearing in. We still need to do the shifter and stuff up there, but got the slave cylinder bolted up. Looks freaking good, man. Sweet. Can't wait to hear this thing run. Okay, we got us a little bit of daylight. So I started kind of tinkering along here, mounting a few things up just to kind of get a rough idea how this is going to look. I got the radiator in here. The shroud looks, I don't know, it's not a huge deal, but it just kind of looks crusty. And I think I would like to maybe clean it up. And I have a little trick for that. A heat gun. So you can see this used to have a Megan Racing sticker on it, and it would be nice if this was just a shiny, fresh, black plastic. So let's see if we can't make it that way. And you can watch the letters disappear. Kind of. Definitely that section looks shinier than the rest of it does. So I'm gonna hit this whole thing, see if I can make it look pretty. Actually looks way better. You have to look really hard to see where the Megan sticker was. Okay, we got most of the intercooler piping sorted out here. I ordered these two ISR hot and cold pipes, and this side works out pretty good. Figured out all the couplers and the clamps, and then on the cold side, I again reused this lower piece that was already with this Godspeed kit. Throwback. If you've been around the 240 game for a while, you've definitely heard that name. And yeah, we got a bunch of couplers all figured out. Here's everything that I figured out. Order has been placed. Boom. If you've never heard of siliconeintakes.com, this place is legit. All right, it's just been a couple days and these couplers showed up. So we got our, I think this is 2-inch to 2 1/4, reducing 45 clamps. A whole bunch of these here. These look like 2 3-inchers, 2 3/4 hump hose, a couple of reducers, 3-incher, some bends, some clamps, and we're ready to rock. All right, my calculations were correct. Everything is just loosely fitted up right now. I don't have clamps on anything, but our hump hose works here. Our 3-inch to 2 3/4 reducer is working there. Our 3-incher there. We already had this 3-incher. This 2-inch to 2 1/4, 45 bending reducer, and then this 2 1/4 to 2 reducer here for our hot pipe. And we're looking good. So I've got this little stuff right here. It's got adhesive on this side, and it's like this dense foam. From the factory, there's like a foam between the radiator and the core support, and when it's mounted, there's like a huge air gap there. So I like to put this on here, and fills that air gap in nice. Kind of cleans it up too, it looks good. Like that. How nice. Also got all new little plastic clips for the hood latch and a little rubber grommet there. So yeah, I mean, that's starting to kind of come together. Radiator stuff looks good. I put the clutch fan on and it looks good. I just need to hook up the lower radiator hose, which I have around here somewhere. That heater hose kit I ordered came with radiator hoses as well. Got this top one here. I need to trim it down and put in the coolant temp sensor in line there. This lower one probably needs some massaging too to make it work. Black hoses, black couplers, black engine bay, black tires. Oh yeah, we got new tires for these wheels too. We got the Petless Velox Sport PT741, a 235 40 17. So those are just basic, cheapest tires I can find online. Those make good steers. And then I've got some 235 40 18s. I'll probably toss on these 9.5s in the back. Might maybe do a little bit of a spacer. It's not bad, but it doesn't really, you know. We got some room to fit some tire, so I might pump it out a little bit. Right now it's got like a 25 mil spacer on it. This front one doesn't have a spacer on it right now, but it will. This is going to be pumped out quite a bit more probably. But yeah, tootling along here. Let's keep rocking. I'm going to add a piece. There's a threaded hole right here in the center of the lower core support. I'm going to put something there. Then I can have 2 shoot-offs for the bottom here just to kind of stabilize the bottom of this. You see how it's kind of swinging? That's one thing that needs to be done. And there we have it. Came out pretty nice. I forgot to put a little cross piece here, but I don't think it's gonna matter really. This thing is like, you can really wiggle this bad boy. And she no movie. Good stuff. Looks good. All right, we're moving right along here. And now I'm working on the upper radiator hose. So I had to put in this Greddy coolant temp sensor. This came with the car. It's actually a really quality piece. But you just plumb it into the upper radiator hose. So I've cut this thing, trimmed it to where it fits in there nicely, and it looks good. Where the hose meets this little adapter here, I don't really want to use hose clamps. What I like to do is use safety wire. This is as thick as I can get from Harbor Freight. And I made this little tool, and this thing is a homemade replica of a tool that you can actually buy. I can't remember the name of it right now. I'll pop it up on the screen now. But I made my own out of just a hood pin that I filed the end down like that and cut a little divot in so the wire would fit through there, and put a nut on it, a big washer with 2 little divots on either side for the wire to rest in. But first thing that you need to do is get you a piece of string. You wrap it around 4 times, and that gives you the length that you need to cut for this. So, all right, and after you wrap it around 4 times, you add like another, I don't know, 6 or so inches. That's the length that we need. Draw out the amount here, about right there, clip that. And then I like to take it, run it through my hands, kind of straighten it out as best I can, and then I fold it in half, meet these 2 cut ends like so, create a little point on the other end. You want to try to keep these as straight as you can keep them. Makes life a little bit easier when you go to wrap it around. So then you start wrapping it around your piece here. Kind of tricky part. So you feed it around. You got to keep them all separated. And there's like a strategy to how you wrap this. I'm going to make this look way harder than it's worth. But like I said, if you have the actual tool, life would probably be a little easier. But yeah, you feed it through the loop the two of them one time there, and then you come back around. Like I said, keeping these all spaced out is the tricky part, but actually it's looking pretty decent here. And then you feed them through the loop one more time. Yeah, we're looking good. All right, now take the tool and you put the tip in the little chingadary there. So you get the tip hooked in there, and then the excess fed back up into the little divots on the washer, and then you want to kind of like a bread tie twist this thing around here a few times, kind of get it up out of your way. Now you begin tightening it, which you can really do a lot of this by hand at first. I'm telling you, the actual tool is a million times easier, and I've used this thing enough times to justify buying one, but I just haven't, because this thing works. Because every time I try to use it and I struggle, I just keep going till it's done, and then when it's finished, I just like, well, I don't need to buy one now because I've finished it. But yeah, just got a little 14 nut on this thing, and you just start tightening away. And as I tighten it, I like to keep these kind of oriented like we like, and keep tightening away. Takes a little while. The real tool has like a T-handle thing, and you can just fire off. It's so easy. I'm about to talk myself into buying one here. But this is really nice if you're ever in a pinch. If you were ever somewhere and you didn't have a clamp, you know, you can custom make yourself one. These things work great. This is gonna be probably a terrible tutorial on how to use one of these, but they have like a video from like a trade show where a lady's showing it how it works.
This is the clamp tie tool that makes hose clamps out of wire, custom fit to any size that you need it to be. You get 100% connection, a true 360-degree seal, any size you need it to be.
You don't need to go too crazy. I'm gonna go just a little further. Yeah, you see, once you get a rhythm going, it ain't bad. All right, I think I'm gonna call that, because it looks taut all the way around. Maybe a little more. All 16 psi of coolant pressure might blow this hose off. All right, there we go. Yeah, here's a better look of the whole setup here. As you can see, we got 2 and 2, and I've got these orientated nicely close together within the little humps of the barb. Now we're gonna flip it like this. Turn it like so. Now you can see that it kind of locks it in there, and then you clip the excess bits. Take the tool off. Now you see you're left with these little 2 tines sticking up there. You're gonna push those down, fold them into themselves right around there. And there's your nice little safety wire hose clamp. And whenever you want to take this off, you just clip this center section right in the middle there, and that releases it. You tear it off. Look at that. Super clean. Idiot move check-in. Originally this thing looped down and back. I cut too much off. So I'm heading to a guy's house, and he can TIG weld, so he's gonna TIG weld this back together. I cut an extra 2 inches off the bottom section that I cut it off of this originally, so this should be the perfect length now to land right where I need it. So I brought the pieces over to my new buddy Trent's house, and he's welding it together for me. So check out his Turbo LSZ, super clean. Look at this thing, dude, nuts. 1,000 horsepower, built block 5.3, sweet little pit bike. Dude, Trent killed it. This looks fantastic. Thanks, dude. You're the man. We're ready to go. All right, now we got our intercooler piping done. Made another stop at my buddy Mike's house. He's got a little trunk wing that I'm gonna get from him for the hatch, so let's check this out. We're here in Mike's garage. We got our trunk wing, but check this freaking thing out. Nasty little S15, the VSKFs. If you were at Final Bout Special Stage South, you probably saw this car. But dude, can never go wrong with an S15. So good. This thing's the coolest, dude. Thanks for the wing. All right, this dude's twisting my arm. I have to sit in this thing. Dang, dude. Yeah. Baby's first S15 sit.
You gotta have the full experience.
Wow, dude. Yeah, man, I think I like it. No, this thing sucks, dude.
I'm gonna put it on Marketplace for $120,000.
Yeah, you might get that. Dude, this thing is so good.
Yep, it's just nice, simple.
Clean, dude. Can we pop the hood?
Yeah.
Even too bad some guy cut it like a 3-year-old. Like, probably when it was worth like $200 way back in the day.
Did you paint the bay, or did it come like this?
No, it was actually painted.
Looks good.
This car is actually a factory Spec S.
Okay.
And then someone along the line swapped the DET and the 6-speed into it. That was prior to me.
I see.
All I did was literally put coil rad, GK Tech fan, Nismo flywheel, spec clutch, just some like routine maintenance and stuff, and this little eccentric throttle from GK Tech.
Very nice. So clean, dude.
And
the
a
VSKF
controller, you know. It's so simple, basic, but
just a basic street car.
But
but reliable.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Well, sick, dude. Thanks for showing it to me. All right, we're making it happen today. We've got just a few little things to hook up, alternator and a little bit of wiring and stuff down here. The engine harness is all hooked up. Got to finish up these fuel lines. And I have one small issue over here. That hole there through the fender well for the pass-through for the intercooler piping is just a little bit too tight, as you can see. So I got a plan to hog that hole out just a little bit bigger in diameter. Using this here hole dozer, we're gonna doze this hole a little bit and make it a smidge bigger. That should be plenty big enough. Pass through there a little cleaner than that cut I made on that coupler. Okay, so here's my plan here. We got our hole dozer, and I took 2x4 and I screwed a piece of steel to it and I drilled out the center with the hole dozer. And now I'm gonna sit this on top of the jack and I'm gonna jack this up, the pressure from the bottom side, hopefully, like so. So hopefully that will help this hold center and it makes somewhat decent of a clean cut. So let's see if this works. Yeah, I think that worked pretty good. All right, that turned out pretty dang good, I think. Happy with that. Now we should have plenty of room. Touched up with a little bit of paint, and then I've got this little bulkhead grommet thing, and I'm gonna, you know, put that around there to kind of protect the couplers and stuff. Pretty freaking happy with that, dude. That came out great. Sweet. Okay, I got all the wiring hooked up to the starter and the alternator, and the belt's tightened. Still need to do the fuel lines, but before I do anything to really fire this thing up, I want to make sure that oil is circulating really good, so I'm going to pull the valve cover off. Also, while I'm doing that, I want to double check that the timing is correct. I'm going to make sure that we're on TDC, make sure the CAS is right where it needs to be. I'm going to crank the engine over and watch oil come out of the little feed tubes for the camshafts. Okay, I checked all the timing. We are lined up with the TDC mark on the crank. Then you have this discolored link lined up with this little dimple in the cam gear, as well as this one. Stab the CAS. Sort of see down in there, we got this little mark on the housing and then the mark on the little shaft there. Everything's lined up like it should be. And I pulled all of the spark plugs out so this thing can roll over nice and easily. We just want to crank this thing over, make sure that we have oil flowing out of these little tubes here that feed the camshafts. So yeah, I'm going to set you guys up right here and start cranking this thing over, and we'll see if oil starts squirting out of these things. Oh, shit. Damn. Probably should have unplugged the fuel pump before I turned the key on. We got a little splash action going here. And my starter button's not working, so I think I might not have this thing grounded well enough. So I'm looking around and I can't really find out why the starter's not working, but I'm really glad it didn't because I haven't even put oil in this thing yet. So we're just making a string of bad decisions. I'm gonna take a break, step back, put some oil in this thing. I'm already putting transmission fluid back in that I salvaged. I'm just putting cheap 530 in it. And maybe put a little bit of this stuff, a bunch of zinc in here, put a new filter on. And yeah, just something thin so we can flush all the assembly lube and stuff out of this thing, catch it in the new oil filter. But yeah, still haven't figured out why the starter isn't bumping at all. I'm assuming it's a ground issue, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna add another ground to this side because we have the one main ground over there. There was one ground off this harness. I'm thinking when I took all this apart in the engine bay, I may have missed something because I labeled absolutely nothing. So I don't know. But yeah, first things first, let's put some freaking oil in this thing. All right, since I can't figure out why the starter won't go, I'm just gonna bump it with this screwdriver. Anything squirt out? Doesn't look like anything did yet. Let's keep going. We dripping. You can hear it free up. All right, well that's good news. We got oil flow. Cool. So now I just need to figure out why my starter won't work. So I don't even know if the car will start like this, but I don't know. I think before I try to fire it off, now that we've confirmed that we have oil flowing through the engine, I'm going to sort out fuel lines, finish up my little radiator hose, slap on the intercooler piping, run my little IACV deal here, toss the plugs back in, coil packs, the whole nine. Valve cover, and then we'll figure out why the starter doesn't work. And if it comes to it, I'll turn the key, I guess, and then just jump the starter like I have. Hopefully it fires up. I don't really want to be under the car while it's starting up for the first time, but if you got to do it, you got to do it, I guess. So yeah, freaking good news though. Stoked that we got some oil flowing through here. All right, I've gotten a ton of stuff done on this thing. I just finished putting the fenders and stuff on. I got the headlights all back on. I got these nice crystal clear headlights on here. All of our intercooler piping is done. I got our intake on here. I filled up power steering. Fuel lines are connected. Everything is looking pretty good, but I still can't get this starter to kick over. I don't know what the freaking deal is. So originally when I did this car, I couldn't get this ignition cylinder to excite the starter. So I wired in this little push button dealio here. It's soldered into the back of the lock cylinder where it gets power. So it's a real short little power and a long red lead that goes all under the dash and pops out the firewall here and then runs directly to the starter there. I'm not entirely sure why yet, but I'm thinking that this ignition cylinder is not getting power. But everything else is, which is weird. So I can kick the key on. My little Blitz racing monitor thing kicks on. This all lights up, radio comes on. Nothing though when I hit this or do this. Headlights work. Windows work. So the chassis is getting power, I just can't get the freaking starter to take off. So I didn't want to do it, but I think I'm just going to leave the key turned on, crawl into the car, and jump the starter, see if this thing will kick off. So I'll set you guys up in front of the car here, just in case this thing does start. But we've got everything, so I don't know. I just kind of started messing with stuff, just trying to distract myself from why this wasn't working. So we got a few things like, you know, the fenders and the headlights done, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna leave the key on here, jumping from underneath the car. We'll see what happens. All right, we got Sarah turning the key for us, so here we go. Let's see if this thing starts. All right, go ahead. Tap the gas. Hold it down. You just let go, you're good. Good job. Hey, it runs. Thank you. It freaking runs, dude. Looks good. I don't have any way to monitor oil pressure, but I mean, it sounds good. Tack is working. And I don't know what's going on with the starter, but ECU and stuff's getting power. So we gotta figure something out. Damn, it sounds really good. All right, I'm gonna kill it. That's good enough for now. Listen to it though, it sounds freaking good. Can't believe it's running, dude.